Riggs Show. The head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Kurtiss Riggs Show on FM 98.1, AM 1230, KWSN, and KWSN.com. The Kurtiss Riggs Show being brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute. Now, here's your host of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the voice of the Sioux Falls Storm, Rich Rosty.
And good afternoon and hi, everybody. I'm Rich Rosty, and welcome to the Riggs Show. The IFL. We're going to talk about the standings and how things are lining up right now. We'll also talk about the game down in Nebraska where the Storm was victorious 45-37. That's this Saturday as the Storm hosts the Arizona Rattlers. Now, that is the big rematch. Sioux Falls Storm went out to Phoenix for the first game to 33, so this is the only other time that the Storm will play Arizona in the regular season. So this game coming up Saturday, huge game, because the teams are tied for first place in the IFL. So this game coming up on Saturday, absolutely huge for this time of the season, and we'll be talking with the coach about that. Then also on the show, we're going to be talking to Jabari Gorman, a big night down in Nebraska last Saturday night. And then we'll be talking to Jim Laurie. I haven't talked to Jim for a while. And a lot of things going on at the game coming up this weekend. And he's going to tell us all about also things going on prior to this coming Saturday, things that you can take part in and really have a good time with. So all of that coming up on the Riggs Show, which is presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and you're listening to his show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
Are you looking for that first apartment? Better yet, have the kids.
The biggest difference in Boyer and other dealerships is the fact that we're an employee-owned company. From the front of the building with the sales to the back of the building with service and parts, you're dealing with the owner of the company. We have the smallest vehicles all the way up to the biggest vehicles. We're a truck dealer by heart, and by design, we deal in the whole gamut of the vehicles. There's not a lot of dealers that do that. This is a relationship business, and I enjoy the relationships a lot.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And our opening interview with the Storm head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Sponsors since day one, Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. They deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just breader. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm good, Rich. How are you?
Good. I got the snow cleaned off just in time for it to melt.
Yeah, that's always satisfying, isn't it?
And then the snowplow came by, and everything on the road just kind of backed up in the driveway. But that's another story. Coach, there was only one game going on this past weekend. So as far as talking about the IFL, we're going to talk into the format around this show. But you look at the standings right now. Sioux Falls is tied with the Arizona Rattlers with 4-1 record. Nebraska now is 4-2. Iowa 3-2. Cedar Rapids 1-5, and Green Bay 0-5. Games coming up this weekend. They're really kind of an interesting matchup, and that's what I wanted to get your take on. Nebraska is going to be at Iowa, take on the Barnstormers. Iowa was defeated by Nebraska a couple weeks ago, 43-32. Then Cedar Rapids is playing at Green Bay. And, of course, Sioux Falls is hosting Arizona. We'll talk about that in detail later on in the show. But I wanted to get your feel and your thoughts about these two different ball games. Nebraska at Iowa right now. Nebraska coming off the loss against the Storm. They're 4-2. Iowa was defeated by Nebraska. They are at 3-2. That's a big matchup game, is it not?
Definitely. Yeah, it for sure is. And I think you'll see a change of venue and a change in Iowa. I think you'll see Iowa come out and play much more aggressive. Nebraska really got after them that first game. And usually what happens is you get a little home field, fans, get to sleep in your own bed.
Uh-huh.
You kind of get pushed around, and and you just come out energized, ready to go. And so, I think we'll see Iowa. I don't know which way it'll go. I mean, I think either team can win. I think it'll just come down to who can take care of the ball. And the first one, Iowa had some pretty costly turnovers.
And Nebraska suffered from turnover problems against the Sioux Falls Storm. They had 3 of them. So that is a factor for both teams coming into this contest, I think.
Yeah, and I think we probably showed some things to Iowa that they'll be able to do. I mean, with Drew at quarterback and, the skill guys they have, and then defensively too. I think Iowa will the game being off last week and seeing us play Nebraska will help them quite a bit.
Then the other matchup is going to be on Sunday, and that Cedar Rapids is going to be at Green Bay. Green Bay has a new coach. Roberson has taken over for Williams, and they have not had a victory. The only victory for Cedar Rapids is against Green Bay, and this could be a pivotal game for those 2 ball clubs too, couldn't it, Coach?
Well, I think it's pivotal in the sense that it's Green Bay's coach, Corey Roberson, his first game, and I just saw transactions come through, and they had quite a few changes, and he's probably trying to formulate his roster now coming off 2 bye weeks. And then Cedar, Coach Jones is trying to keep it together there. And I think both are looking for some confidence to build off of.
Mm-hmm.
And, Green Bay especially, they have the fan base. So now it's can they win some games to appease their fans there? Because you wonder if they can't, how long will those fans keep coming? Because they've done a tremendous job getting the fans there to support their team.
And no doubt. And that's one of the problems that Cedar Rapids is having. They used to have really good crowds, and they have really been struggling getting fans to get to the ball games, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. And it's just, last year we thought it couldn't get any worse than this year. It's been just not very good. And so you hope that they can turn that around, because it was a great place to play. It was really a challenging place and got really loud in there. And right now it doesn't look like there's quite the presence.
Very good, Coach. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the game last Saturday against the Nebraska Danger, the Storm victorious in that contest. And we'll talk about it in detail. Storm won 45-37. And so stay tuned, Coach. We'll be back right after this. And you're listening to this first segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. They deliver anywhere in town. Their subs are just breader. I've always said they have the best bread in town. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking for that first apartment?
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And the Storm Weekly Game Recap is brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party host for all the Storm fans for the away games. And our next away game is going to be on Friday, April 27th. That's a Friday, April 27th, as the Storm returns to Grand Island, Nebraska to take on the Danger. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Coach, we go down to Grand Island to take on the Nebraska Danger. And during the course of any season, a head coach always has challenges as far as different things that are happening with your ball club. But last week, I have to believe, was one that was really filled with a lot of different roster type things. Maybe fill the fans in a little bit on all the things that you went through with your roster getting ready for that Nebraska game.
Well, up to this point already in the season, Rich, it's been quite a struggle with the roster and keeping players and just it's just been different. And so, over the bye week, we had traded a defensive back, and we got Kwame Bell, who we think is going to be a great addition for us. And, we traded Daniel Lindsay, who was a very good player and a very good kick returner. We just felt like we needed help up front. And then we had a DB that was, having an injury that was questionable. Jermaine Robinson got flown in by the CFL. And so now we're down to 3 DBs, and we had some struggles getting some guys in even. I mean, there were some – people just don't understand. It's, when you call these guys or their agents, and then when you actually talk to the player and want to get them in, I mean, they have to put their life on hold, whatever they're doing, and we get them here, and it doesn't always work as smoothly as you would hope. And so there were some struggles there. We get a DB in, though, and then on the drive down to north to Grand Island, when we're in Norfolk, we found out that our linebacker's MRI was much more severe than what they originally thought. And, we found out he couldn't play. So, again, we had to shuffle around the roster and maneuver some people to where we felt like they could be successful. And Coach Hermanson and his staff did a fantastic job of getting the guys ready and going out and just trying to make Nebraska have to beat us. And I think they played really good football.
And the thing about it is you had people that had one practice with the Storm, and they're starting. You had a newcomer that goes down with an injury, and you have to shuffle your players, have defensive players, go over to the offensive side as wide receivers. Even your backup quarterback wound up playing as a wide receiver. His specialty is kick return tackles, but you put him on the field as a wide receiver.
Yeah, it was. We were very limited on skilled guys, and so when we had to trade a linebacker, I mean that was it. We had 4 DBs, and at one point, Jordan Landry, the new one that just had a practice, is all. He was cramping up. We had to use a timeout because we had no one else. Jatavius Stewart had a injury that I solely believe it was because of that turf. That turf is so bad in Nebraska. I mean, it looks really good, but it is by far the worst turf we have ever played on, ever. And you have seen some of the places we played, Rich.
Yeah.
And even the ones that have the waves or the ripples in it, I think are still better because the players can see those and they know. This turf, you don't know. You just you can't make any type of cut. You can't try to change your momentum of your body, and that's what Jatavius tried to do. And he slipped his first route of the game. Well, then the next time he tries to run again, and his legs just went opposite directions, and he ended up, tweaking his knee. But so, yeah, at that point we had Jabari Gorman, and then we just felt like he was having to do too much, and we really needed him out there on defense. And so then we got Dylan out there, and Dylan's he's a very savvy, great football IQ. He knew what he was doing, and so he stepped in and did a great job.
Plus, he's big enough. He takes up room. And if he's going to be blocking downfield, if nothing else, he's going to create an obstacle as much as anything. Plus, he's not afraid to put his head into it either, is he?
Yeah, you know what? And if need be, I mean, Lorenzo is a starting receiver too. At one point he started for us at receiver. And I mean, we actually at one point thought, hey, we can move Lorenzo to a receiver and Dylan the quarterback.
Yeah.
And we could be pretty good there too. Lorenzo's playing really good right now. He's really doing a nice job. His leadership, he's done a very good job since game 1 of management of the game. And I think he learned from that one. And I can see it means a lot this year to him, and that's great because we need him. We need him to make plays.
We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about that and how he really felt that last year he had let the team down and the fans down and the way he performed and played. I think that you're definitely right. He has a different focus, a different direction that he's taken the team, and you can see it on the way he plays the game. I'm not seeing quite as many reckless events in his action on the field. I think that it's a little more contained, and maybe more in tune with the things that you're talking about as far as what you want him to do.
Well, and I can give you two good examples. One play, Xavier Jackson does a spin move inside and beats Darian Oliver, and Zoe gets out of the pocket and then just throws it away. And another play, we're going for a home run, and they bring a blitz, and he's got a small window of time to throw it. It's not there. And instead of forcing or trying to create, he just goes down. And, those seem like terrible plays, but those are the plays that make the biggest difference in the outcome of the game, because we can live to see another down. What we can't do is turn the ball over. And he's done a very good job with plays like that of, even a 3rd and 14 situation with a guy like Lorenzo is really tough on a defense. Because if you rush too far upfield and you cover downfield, he can run and hurt you. And then he can sit in the pocket and throw, and you saw that against Nebraska.
And in other previous games, last year before, like you said, he would force the issue, he would take off and run. That's when bad things happen. Or take off and throw ill-advisedly, and that's when bad things would happen.
Yeah, and he would struggle throwing it away or going down, because he always wanted to make that special play, because he does make a lot of special plays, and you get accustomed to that. And sometimes you just got to be able to be willing to concede, hey, the defense did a nice job here, but I'm going to get him on the next one.
Turnovers are a big factor in the game. The Storm was able to convert 2 fumbles, or a fumble and an interception, for a touchdown. We're going to be talking to Jabari Gorman, who had the pick 6 in that contest, and a lot of good things happened in that game. But one question that I do have for you, as far as when guys go off on tryouts with the CFL or other leagues, do you have to hold their spot on the 25-man roster, or can they be moved out of that so you can bring somebody in?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rich. I don't have to, but if I release him, like let's say Jermaine Robinson, if I release him because Montreal is flying him in for that workout, then I can't put him back on the roster for 2 weeks.
Oh.
And I think it's a terrible rule. The rule is so that teams are not hiding guys, which I think is valid. But when a team is paying to fly in this player, and I can document it, then they should be exempt.
Yeah.
Because I should not be handcuffed because my player is doing what this league is all about. This league is to help them move up.
Right.
And for us to sit here and say, well, you got to keep them on there and you can't bring anyone else in, or you got to release him and then someone else could sign him, or he's got to sit for 2 weeks. It's really not fair to any of the parties involved. And hopefully in league meetings in the offseason, we're able to address that and change that around.
I'm glad I brought that up. That cleared up some things and also kind of muddied the waters for some things also in my mind. But it does handcuff you because you can't, okay, he's going to be gone. I'm going to bring this guy in. But here you have to sit. You got a spot that you have nobody to play. And when you have injuries and other things like this go down, you're handcuffed as far as people.
Well, and where it really costs you is it doesn't cost you on a guy like Jermaine. It costs you on that guy that is the 24th or 25th guy on your roster.
Yeah.
And that 24th or 25th guy would have got a chance to suit in Nebraska because of our unusual situation. But because we had to keep Jermaine Robinson on the roster, that took away an advantage of someone else possibly having a chance to play. And, it was, I definitely brought it up to the commissioner. I didn't get a lot of feedback on it. I mean, I know why he has the rule, and I think there's validity to why he has it, but I think it can be cleaned up to where if it's documented that a player is going in, then they should be exempt.
Good stuff. Coach, we'll talk to you after a while about the Arizona Rattlers.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs, and this recap brought to you by Eastway Bowl, and they are the official viewing party hosts. The next away game is on the 27th. It's a Friday night as the Storm returns to Grand Island to take on the Danger. Coming up next, Jim Loria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, and you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on KWSN.
Let's all take a moment. Hey guys, Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler here. I'm here at one of my favorite places in the entire world, the wrestling room. But if there's one thing we know about wrestling rooms, they can get extremely dirty. We're talking skin infections, we're talking about funk, we're talking about smelly armpits, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. So, my friends at Pure and Clean Sports came up with an awesome solution. Spray it right on your skin, wipe it off, smells great, keeps you clean from the time you leave the mats to the time you can get home and shower. Not only is it the greatest skin defense in the entire world, it's the safest. Check them out, pureandcleansports.com.
You're listening to The Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Kurtiss Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And after the interview with Jim Loria, we'll take your third call at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the home game that's this Friday. It's the big rematch with the Arizona Rattlers. 4 free tickets. We're going to do it after Jim's interview, after Jabari Gorman's interview, then also at the end of the show. So we'll have a chance. There's a chance for 12 free tickets to this big game coming up with the Arizona Rattlers. He is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, Jim Loria. Jim, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
Oh, Rich, always a pleasure. Thank you.
We haven't had a chance to talk for a while. We've been on the road. Seems like it's forever. Hey, but we're coming home Saturday, and we can't wait to be back around and within the friendly confines of the Denny Sanford Premier Center and the great fans that we have. And you have a lot of things going on for them coming up on Saturday, don't you?
We have a lot of things. This is like home opener number 2. And
Yeah.
we have what's going to be unique at this game here is we've never done it before. At least in my 4 years, we're going to actually conduct a live auction on the field at halftime, and we're looking to pre-register the bidders. This is something we want to know who you are before the game ever even takes place. So if this has an interest for the listeners, to definitely get a hold of me. What we're doing is we have the actual guitar from Carrie Underwood at a concert she performed in Sioux Falls. The guitar was given to KTWB, the sister station of the Midwest Communications Group. So we actually have a signed guitar from Carrie. In addition, the Premier Center has given up 2 really nice seats for the Shania Twain concert right by the stage, and 2 tickets for the Chris Young concert coming up. Both country shows are coming up here. So we got those 2 sets of concert tickets. The Royal Limousine Company is going to drive you to each of the concerts, round-trip service to both shows. Spectra Food Services is going to give the winner $100 in food concessions money. We've also got a really cool Storm football signed by the team, in addition to 4 club-level Storm season tickets.
Oh, my.
So this will be a live auction performed by Chris and Doc from the KTWB Morning Show. And so we're looking for at least 2 bidders, obviously. And the value of the package, Rich, is $2,300. And so we're looking for the bidders that will basically agree that the first bid will be a minimum of $750. That's the starting point that we have to be at.
Sure.
Number 2, the donation, though, is 100%, is going to go to the Night of Hope and Caring, which helps the Sioux Falls Elementary Public Schools. Many of them are in real and urgent needs for fundraising. So this money is going to be helping elementary schools here in the Sioux Falls area.
And not only that, as far as the Sioux Falls Public Schools are concerned, if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings tomorrow night, and between the hours of 5 and night, and when you make your order, if you just say Sioux Falls Public Schools, they will take 10% of your order and donate it to this program for the Night of Hope and Caring from Buffalo Wild Wings.
That's correct, and that's an awesome thing, Rich. We appreciate what they're doing to jump in to help, raise additional funds. Another way that people can help, they want to keep this in mind, there's 2 things. Caribou Coffee here in Sioux Falls has actually got a program put together where if you go, I just heard the commercial, so I think your listeners may have heard it, but if you go to Caribou Coffee in Sioux Falls, they have a big jar at the counter. If you want to donate your loose change, 1/3 of that donation dollars is going to go to this fund. And as compliments, the Caribou people actually printed a really cool Storm sticker. It's on the beverage sleeves. of any of their cups. And if you take that coupon to the Premier Center box office, you're going to get normally a $10 ticket will be sold to you for $5.
Oh
so
my!
you'll get a $5 deal and you can bring 100,000 people in one coupon technically. Well, Rich, Todd Tryon's going to donate $2 of every 5 that gets redeemed through the Premier Center box office. He'll donate $2 back to the fund. So there's just a lot of wonderful things going on. Last year, this event raised $28,000. And the school district dispersed, just so the fans have a good feel of this. They wrote 7 checks last year for $4,000 and distributed the monies to 7 schools that were definitely in need of fundraising. And things like they're doing, for example, some schools took their kids on field trips, which they're not doing anymore. Some bought some library books and replenished the library. Some bought art supplies that parents can't afford to always do, And so it's a wonderful thing, and we hope our fans will take this one here and look at it as a wonderful way if you want to help out a great community cause. This is definitely one to look into.
Not only that, when you go to the game, there's other things like a player jersey raffle and also a window cling giveaway.
I'll say we didn't even get to that yet, but the jerseys the players are wearing Saturday night, they're going to be raffled off. And the fun part about the promotion, Rich, is the volunteers that the fans will see. Most of them are school principals and many are teachers. So they're actually the ones helping doing the legwork for the event. So when you walk in, there's 25 jerseys. They'll be raffled off. We'll announce them at halftime, and then basically the players will take them off their backs after the game.
Wow. Fantastic. Good stuff, Jim. All of that coming up starting tomorrow night at Buffalo Wild Wings. Go out there. Just tell them Sioux Falls Public Schools, 10% of your tab gets donated to this wonderful cause for the great night of hope and sharing, and also with the live auction and the other events and raffles going on, Jim. It's always a great show at the Sioux Falls Storm game, 7 o'clock on Saturday night, the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Good stuff.
Can I add one more quick thing?
Oh, absolutely.
If anybody in the listening audience wants to be a bidder on that live auction, they need to email me right away up until Thursday. That's our deadline, Thursday by 5. Jim at SiouxFallsStorm.com. Just simple as Jim at SiouxFallsStorm.com. If they email me, I'll then get a hold of them privately.
Wonderful, Jim. I'm sure that you'll get plenty of bidders.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
Very good. Jim Loria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. What a job he does for this community, not just the Storm, but for this community. After we go to break, we'll take your third caller, 336-1230. 4 free tickets, courtesy of Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. Coming up next, Jabari Gorman. He had quite a night down in Nebraska last Saturday. We'll talk to him about it. And you're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on KWSN.
Rich and Sue, the Rockies wanted their new to be unique, so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat and Glow or Heatilator dealer. Fireplace Pros, Heat and Glow, and Heatilator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today.
Waiting to see a doctor?
What's taking so long?
It can take a while.
I don't have time for this.
Or longer than a while.
We've been here 2 hours.
Forever.
Hello?
What would you say if there was another option?
Finally.
Yes.
It's about time.
We're inclined to agree. It's about time for the best patient care. Sioux Falls Urgent Care.
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And this segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show, the Storm Ticket Giveaway, brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And I said, Bretter. That's a different sponsor. That's Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. But Get in, get out, feel better. Lewis Pharmacies. And after the interview, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230 for free tickets to the game on Saturday against the Arizona Rattlers. And joining us via the fan line, he is member of the Sioux Falls Storm secondary, also part-time wide receiver, Jabari Gorman. Jabari, thanks for being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit of, you're new with the Storm. I want to introduce you to the Storm fans. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and where you went to college.
My name is Jabari Gorman. I'm from Miami, Florida. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Also went to school in Miami, Florida. Graduated from the University of Florida Gators. Go Gators.
Uh-huh.
And played a little bit at Nebraska. Did a little CFL. Now I'm pursuing my dream with the Sioux Falls Storms.
Well, tell me a little bit of what it was like to play in the swamp, playing for the Gators.
Definitely amazing experience. Playing in front of 100, roughly around 100,000 fans, you really can't get no better than that. And it was just a great experience. I had a great time there and wish to continue to keep doing what I'm doing now.
Well, who was the head coach while you were at Florida?
Will Muschamp was the head coach.
Oh, really? Okay, that's who it was. I wasn't sure the time frame. But, you came out of that. You wound up playing for Nebraska, not the University of Nebraska, but the Nebraska Danger. Now you've been with the Sioux Falls Storm as a defensive back, and you had a big game this past Saturday. Coming into the game, after the game, you've had a total of 23.5 tackles for the year, tackle and a half for loss, and 2 interceptions, but you had a pick 6 down in Nebraska. Tell us about that, because of how you did it and how you got it in the end zone.
Coach called a great play. I executed the play. I was just reading the route, just doing what I normally do, and just made a great play on the ball, And luckily, I had the opportunity to take it to the distance and score a touchdown.
Well, I just thought it was really cool the way you tipped it up to yourself. You got your hands in there, got the ball up in the air, kept your eyes on it, and brought it in and returned it from the 15 in for a touchdown. And that was just a thing of beauty. And the game wound up only being an 8-point ball game, and there was a couple key plays, and that was one of them, in my estimation, was your pick 6, because it changed the momentum again.
Correct. And my team, we needed a big play, and Coach needed a big play out of me, and I had to go and make a big play for the team.
Now, also, because of injury, because of the change in personnel and people being gone and injuries and things like that, you were recruited into being a wide receiver during the course of that game. Had you played wide receiver before?
In high school, I played wide receiver a little bit, and throughout practice, Coach Riggs always pulled me to the side and, explained the offensive schemes, and, I just tagged along, and, whatever Coach needed me to do that day, I was able to do it for him.
Well, I think that's one of the marks of a successful team, and the Storm has been successful for a very long time, is that the players realize that it's not all about them. It's all about the team, entire effort, and whatever a person can do to contribute, regardless of what it is, even if it's outside your normal realm, is that you will step up and say, yes, I will, pick me, Coach. I'll go in there, whatever you need, and I'll take care of it. And that's what I saw in your performance down in Nebraska. And Jabari, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
One of the things I do with all of the players, I have them fill out a form before the season begins, and I wanted to ask you what kind of a hobby you have, but you like to fly a drone. Tell us about that.
Yes, my older brother, he always talked about this drone, and he actually bought me one for Christmas, and all I've been doing since that Christmas is flying my drone whenever I have time to. After practice or after workouts, I go be on the field after I do my workout, and I'll fly the drone for an extra hour or two.
Ever had it fly away from your coverage?
Definitely fly away. Definitely had to fly probably too far. I had to get on somebody's roof just to find it. Definitely devastated that day. I was definitely scared that I lost it, but, God helped me find it, and, I was good after that.
Very good. Well, Jabari, I really appreciate you being on the Kurtiss Riggs Show. My very best to you this season. And I would expect nothing else from you, because you've shown it in the games that I've watched you play. You leave it all on the field. And my very best to you.
Thank you. Go Storms.
Very good. Jabari Gorman, he wears number 2 with the Sioux Falls Storm. Coming up next, we'll be talking to Coach Riggs about the Arizona Rattlers. But first, when we go to break, third caller, 336-1230, 4 free tickets for the Arizona Rattler game, and it's all sponsored by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Storm fans, during the months of
You're listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back for our final segment with the coach, Kurtiss Riggs. This brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And they're located at 917 South Cliff in Sioux Falls. They have sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. Arizona Rattlers coming into town. The Storm and the Rattlers are all tied at 4-1, leading the Indoor Football League. And this is what makes this great sport so much fun, is when you have the best against the best this time of the season with a lot on the line, isn't it, Coach?
It is. Yeah. I mean, this is our last chance at Arizona, too, until playoffs potentially. So, I wish we got to play them more, but unfortunately it's only a home and away is all we get with them. So we got to try to make the most of this.
The Storm lost to the Rattlers in the first game of the season, 39-33. How has Arizona changed since that first game, or have they?
Well, they too have gone through some struggles with roster, meaning, the spring league and injuries have taken its toll on their roster at times up to this point in the season. And Coach Guy's done a great job adapting, putting guys, plugging them into a system, and just continuing on, and you knew they would come back after that Iowa game and play good football and get a win. And it seems like they're right back on track now.
They did lose to the Iowa Barnstormers in that game. It was 38-28, and that was back on March 10th. But since that time, that they have continued to march on. However, they struggled against Green Bay, who was winless and still is winless. They struggled in that game, but then they've come back since that game. What has changed them since that Green Bay game?
I don't think anything's changed them. I think, they just Green Bay came in with a game plan that I think maybe surprised them a little bit, and they had some sloppy turnovers. And I think, at times what allows other teams to hang around with them is when they get a little careless with the football, and that's what they did against Green Bay. The Iowa loss, it just looked like they weren't even motivated to go out and play. They had just beat us, and it was very similar to last year. Last year they played us the first game of the year, and they played us tough, but they lost, but they thought, we can definitely play with these teams. And then Iowa went in and beat them. And then it was like from that point on, they really turned things around. Well, this one, they beat us. They went to Iowa and just wasn't the same team. I mean, they looked nothing like the team that we played in Arizona. And I'm sure the coach guy gave a pretty inspiring motivational speech at practice, and they're playing hard now. And when they come to our place, they're not going to be lacking motivation.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. In the game with the Sioux Falls Storm, the first game of the season, their starting quarterback, Verlin Reed, went down with an injury. And as I understand, he is back from that short-term IR. But the other quarterback that stepped into his place, Jeff Ziamba, has taken over and done a very good job for the Rattlers. Tell us about him.
Yes, and I think he's probably a pure passer, but Verlon is the better athlete, and they've both been shooting. I would expect that both of them would play against us. I think Coach Guy has confidence in both of them and feels like they can, work his system. And Verlon had good success against us before he got hurt in that first game.
Also, they've lost, as I understand, their running back, Shadrach Thornton, went down with an injury. Is he on short-term IR?
Yeah, he did get placed on short-term IR, but they still have Monroe on there. And he's on the roster. I just haven't seen him playing. Maybe that's Thornton overtook his job. Both of them are very good running backs, and Monroe is just he is a physical specimen that you don't see in our league very often. A running back that big and that fast and that strong. He's very tough to contend with.
6'2", 220 pounds. He's a big one. There's no doubt about that. Also, another player that really had created fits for the Sioux Falls Storm was their linebacker, Justin Shirk. And he had been out with an IR. Would he be coming back about this weekend? Or does he have to be out for another week?
No, he could come back now. Yeah, you got to be out at least 2 weeks. He's been out at least 2 weeks. So they could bring him back. They could keep playing the kid they have. I mean, either one. I think both are good. I think their D-line is really the key of their success. And I think their DBs do a very good job of playing within the system of what Coach Guy and Coach Sheridan want with their defense. I think they're not like any other team you face. So it becomes very difficult as you prepare. It's almost like preparing for a team running wishbone.
Uh-huh. Their defense has 9 sacks on the year. They have 5 interceptions on the year. They're aggressive defense. When you look at this game coming up on Saturday, Coach, when you break it down, what do you feel are the keys to this contest for the Storm to get the win?
Well, handling pressure is the biggest key. I mean, if you can handle the pressure, sustain it, continue to stay positive yards, not taking those big losses to where you get in deep situations. When you get pushed back, it becomes a lot of trouble because that linebacker is going to be coming, and they're going to crunch that pocket down, and they're going to really make it difficult for you to have any time. And their DBs will play at a line, and they'll make you, throw that short one, and they'll rally up to tackle. So it can be difficult.
I'm going to ask you a question. Hayden Fry was a very successful coach at Iowa. Lou Holtz, of course, at Notre Dame. But many times when they would ask questions to him about their team, what kind of shape they're in, they would basically make we don't have hardly enough guys to fill a roster. We'll just show up and just see what we can possibly do, and then they'd come out and kick you. Ask the same question. What kind of a roster are you going to have to put together come Saturday?
Well, it's I don't know, Rich. I really don't. That's something that we're working on. We're addressing. We have the guys in today for workouts and meetings, and we meet as a staff and kind of assess, what we can do in the short amount of time, if there's anything, or just move guys around, and if that's our best option. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll have. I can guarantee you this: we'll have enough guys to play the game. Okay.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
I love it. Very good, Coach. Hey, we'll talk to you out at Denny Sanford Center on Saturday.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Kurtiss Riggs. This segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. We come back, we'll wrap this up, and then give away some tickets after we go off to the air. We'll be back right after this.
No matter what you do, getting the job done is what it's all about, and that's where...
Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
Segment of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And I want to thank our friends at Boyer Ford Trucks, the official sponsor of our weekly podcast of the Kurtiss Riggs Show. And that's Boyer Ford Trucks, celebrating 30 years of being employee-owned sales, parts, and service. We keep you moving, and that is Boyer Ford Trucks. After we go off the air, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And that's for the game coming up on Saturday. I want to thank our head coach, Kurtiss Riggs, along with our guests, Jabari Gorman and Jim Loria. And also, the Kurtiss Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine provider, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Thank you to John Michaels, our KWSN studio producer and engineer, along with you for our listening audience for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Kurtiss Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio KWSN. Folks, have a great evening and enjoy the snow being gone. Well, no, it's going to be coming back, but they got something to do. Come out to the Storm game on Saturday at 7 o'clock. Arizona Rattlers in town. It's going to be a dandy. Good night, everybody.